the genuine South African debate. The March and March campaign has brought to light the most important planning and implementation of plans to take over South Africa. This is not a scare story. These activities that are already shaping the future of South Africa are not taking place in structures of comrade or white parties of South Africa. In fact, these parties are fast becoming irrelevant. The high-profile leaders or kings that are being installed around the country by various foreign communities are innocuous-looking symptoms of a big problem. The problem is the partitioning, which is afoot, of the formal and informal / criminal economy of South Africa into a variety of foreign fiefdoms. Often the formal and criminal components of a fiefdom work together with the formal in laundering the cash generated by the criminal sector. Corrupt politicians, state officials, including police, are captured by a foreign fiefdom, mainly to smooth the interface between the criminal and the formal sector of the fiefdoms and with state structures. The Igbo king against whom we marched, Kukombo, subsequently cemented friendship with the king of Amakhakhab, the Xhosa group on whose land East London was built. Now the Igbos are not great friends of Yorubas and many other Nigerian groups operating in South Africa. Sometimes rivalry within a foreign national group leads to violent skirmishes, such as the recent fatal shootings among Somali or Ethiopian shopkeepers in the Johannesburg CBD. All these business fiefdoms, operated by a variety of foreign nationalities, sometimes compete within or between themselves, but they always unite when they face South Africans, whom they regard as their common enemy. They want to dispossess South Africans. In essence, we have an alliance between foreign African warlords and South African Comrade Party criminals to take South Africa away from South Africans. Our courts now allow our women to give South African surnames to their illegal Kwere boyfriends of convenience. The sophisticates of the comrade parties are issuing legitimate documents to the entire community of criminal undocumented migrants. How they will know who is really who is a mystery. South African citizens insisted on voting for comrade parties, disregarding all provocative destruction of the country by these criminals. For 32 years, the comrade parties have assessed the South African voters and decided that nothing will happen if they augment their vote with a flood of foreigners. The competition is for looting opportunities in South Africa, and South Africans are contemptuously regarded as lazy drunkards and hobos who are always high on drugs. The poor of South Africa, who were once drawers of water and hewers of wood for whites, are now being prepared by comrade parties to play the same role for Kwere bosses. Whether our evil comrade parties succeed or not to subdue South Africans for the new form of slavery, what they have not carefully considered is the wars they are importing from all over the shithole countries of Africa. Just as warlords fight over the oil fields of Nigeria, over the minerals of the DRC, over piracy in the shipping lanes of the Horn of Africa, over religion in Pakistan. All these wars will be reflected in wars for dominance in the economic fiefdoms of South Africa. Immigration on our scale can only work in a country with stern law and order. With our weak or non-existent government, it is a certainty we are importing wars, from all the regions of the world, which wars will be easy to ignite and impossible to extinguish. Proudly xenophobic, South Africa is an irresistible magnet for criminals from all parts of the world because the criminal justice system is incompetent and its officers are infinitely corruptible and prisons are as comfortable as hotels. Serious crimes like drug dealing, which warrant a death sentence elsewhere, may not even warrant imprisonment in South Africa, depending on quantities involved. This leniency is dictated by our respect for human rights. Human rights are a boon to foreigners in South Africa. In practice, human rights of foreigners are superior to those of citizens. There is even a Chapter 9 institution, the South African Human Rights Commission, which employs foreigners to specialize in asserting the human rights of other foreigners over the rights of South Africans. Foreigners who come from countries with absolutely no human rights enjoy in South Africa human rights that even South Africans don't enjoy. Many South Africans, including Jacinda of March and March, often say they wish they were refugees who are never called xenophobic when they demand their excessive rights, often at the expense of South Africans. Despite the fact that youth unemployment in South Africa is the highest in the world, the president of South Africa insists that he has international obligations to refugees of the world that must be given job and business opportunities in South Africa ahead of South Africans, despite the plight of South Africans. The South African president is always the first to accuse South Africans of xenophobia when they complain about this situation. Actually, there is worse provocation that South Africans are not permitted to complain about. South Africa probably has more drug addicts than per capita than any other country in the world. Many foreign African so-called businessmen make their money by forcibly injecting South African teenagers with drugs and turning them into slave prostitutes who work for them in their brothels, housed in buildings hijacked by these self-same lawless foreigners. South Africans who complain about such practices are called xenophobic by our foreign African so-called brothers. To be fair, it is this South African president who teaches foreigners to refer to us in such insulting terms for complaining about abuse. No nation in history has ever been expected to buy friendship with countries in its region at the impossible high cost, which includes allowing its youth to be turned into drug junkies and prostitutes. South Africa may have to do without shithole neighbors. Our bullies are dirt poor anyway. Deportees who ran brothels in hijacked South African buildings now claim they are businessmen who have lost their investment in South Africa. The home countries of these brothel keepers now threaten to sue South Africa for compensation. A new scam is loading. The question of the capture of small business by foreigners has been known to Ramaphosa for a long time. In fact, during the 2019 election campaign, Ramaphosa was already promising his voters to act decisively to throw foreigners out of this business sector. He was, of course, lying, as has been his practice throughout his political career. On June 7, Ramaphosa addressed the nation and demonstrated that he does not understand the seriousness of the situation the country is facing. He can't grasp the fact that it is not the time to tell South Africans what the Constitution allows him or prevents him to do. This is the time to tell South Africans when unreasonable clauses of the Constitution will be amended. ANC politicians have been known to disrespect the Constitution without any hesitation or qualms when it suits them, such as when they want to do corruption. The Constitution can't suddenly be sacrosanct when it oppresses citizens with clauses such as the rubbish that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. What was the ANC thinking when it dreamt up such nonsense? It is shocking that people like Cyril Ramaphosa learned nothing, absolutely nothing, from the timing of Afrikaner negotiations with the ANC before irreversible damage was done to the economy. They knew when their time was up. God knows when Ramaphosa and his team of military goggles will realize that their time is up.